Good morning everyone, welcome to Finnegan's Farm and welcome back onto our YouTube channel. Remember, if you haven't seen the videos, I would say go back to the very start of them, go through them, and you'll probably see the whole process of the 3650 restoration project. We're lucky enough here today. Again, we have Gerry Sheridan, who has visited us on a few occasions anyway, just to see the progress of where we have come to at this stage. You can see we have a lot of parts here. The guys are going to go through exactly what bits we have looked at, what bits we need. We have split both tractors in at the clutch there, so it gets us an idea on the conditions of the clutch disc, the pressure plate, the back plate, we had a leak on it. So I'll ask Caleb maybe just to go through the few bits here. So we had issue here, hadn't we, Caleb, with the back plate?
Yeah, so cleaning the engine block and the back plate, we had noticed there was engine oil leaking out and around. We weren't too sure if it was something above the engine or not, but with all the inspection we found it was just around the end of the camshaft. A gasket had actually completely come out and had to be changed. So once we took it off, we could see clearly that from about the midway point that the gasket was in tatters. So we know to get a new gasket there and a new crankshaft seal as well where we have it out, and we go from there with that.
In regards to the clutch there on one of the tractors?
So on one of the tractors, when we had taken it out, we'd noticed that the clutch disc itself had worn quite badly. So we're down to about half a mil between the material and our rivets. So we know that we have to change that disc, because if we don't, we'll be in here quite soon having to change it again. We're left with quite a deep pit as well. We have a road here, we have a mil of wear onto our pressure plate. So we know, I don't think the camera can pick it up just here, but we can get a 1 mil feeler gauge through the gap there. So we know that we're going to have to get this skimmer changed.
So Gerry, you'd recommend that we change all this clutch, put a clutch kit into this tractor?
Just get a clutch kit, a new clutch kit, fit it in. It's the best and most economical way of doing it.
Yeah.
Just replace it. You wouldn't replace the disc onto that pressure plate, you would replace the whole lot.
And this one here?
That one there is very good.
That looks like a new...
That, in my opinion, has been changed recently and is very good condition, as can be seen in the difference in the face of the two pressure plates. That one's very smooth, that one there is the wear on it. It's very evident that that one has been changed in the recent past.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll put that one
back in.
That
one will go back in.
Put that one
that
back
one
in.
will get new kit.
New kit on it.
Yeah, flywheels are good.
Yeah, okay. Spigot bearing, you change
Spigot
them?
bearing I change it when I'm in there, yeah.
Okay.
Which is the bearing in the centre of your flywheel.
Yeah.
Good. Bit of wear, but nothing excessive.
And do we also check the ring gear there?
Yeah, well, we just look at the ring gear that there's no... Now, ring gear doesn't give a lot of trouble in these tractors, but you can see from looking around at that it's all in good nick, no problem there.
Okay, okay.
Walk away with that.
So when we have get all the clutch, get all the parts of that, we put that all back together. At that stage, we'll be able to join the two tractors, and we should be kind of looking towards getting the tractors, getting the chassis and that, getting them resprayed. We're just going to go through the workings of the clutch here with Sean here. So as part of his apprenticeship here, he needs to brush up on actually what goes on, and it's a great opportunity for these guys to actually see in a simpler way the way all the parts of the tractor, how it all kind of happens. Okay, so Sean, do you want to have a go? Yeah. Okay, so
I suppose to start the pedal, everyone sees the pedal and nothing after that. So our pedal is coming down through these cables here. So when we engage our clutch, push it in, it's going to come into this chamber here, which in turn is going to engage the release bearing onto our diaphragm over here, which we're going to flip over now. So our diaphragm is going to engage, going to push in, all these fingers are going to go in, which in turn is going to bring this out, and these springs here is going to release our pressure plate back, which is going to disengage our discs. So our discs are going from the pressure plate, which is over there, it's going onto our flywheel, which is here.
Yeah.
So when clutch goes in, release bearing goes in, pushes in, takes out our pressure plate, disengages our disc. That's really the basis.
So that gives us effectively, that stops the drive then going to the wheels, So when we stop the drive going to the wheels, we're able to engage our gear, change gear effectively.
Yeah.
Now we still don't lose any hydraulic pressure because, as you can see, there's a hollow shaft there that we still have hydraulic pressure going in the tractor, so we still have all the other functions, but it just disengages
Our drive base to the
our
wheel. land.
land drive, so we can actually change the gears. So yeah, that's good to know anyway. So you've learned a good bit so far.
Absolutely, and kids going to learn until the final bolt goes in. We're going to keep learning, I suppose. And
Yeah, okay. So that's the most important thing. As part of the 3650 restoration project, it also gives our apprentices an insight view on what goes ahead. Like, I mean, we have Gerry and we have Mick here, who are two very experienced men, so they know probably ins and outs of this as we go along. As part of today, from the last day, what we said we would do was to go through actually what happens on the engine side of things, because as we said, most people just turn the key, the tractor starts and away we go, but I think sometimes we actually forget actually what does happen. The engine is probably the most important component, we'll say, on the tractor. It has to be always, you have to look after your engine, whether it's on a service interval or whether it's even just starting it, because when you start the engine you must let the likes of the engine to warm up adequately before you actually started to work it. And it's the same on when you're turning it off, you let it cool down, because there's an awful lot of it's water cooled, so the water has to cool down, the turbo's turbocharged. So we'll go through it as simple as we can here. Mick is going to give us a small little bit of the information insight on the engine. We have a model here. We won't just show you the model yet, but we'll go back to the basic engine here that we have in the tractor. It's a 6-cylinder engine. It's a 5.7 litre engine. And the litre, Gerry, how do we calculate the litre? That's in the cylinder, isn't it?
It's the length of your stroke and the diameter of your stroke gives you your litres, gives you a cubic capacity.
Okay. And then we'll say, so you just add them all, that's 5.7 litre, 9 litres, and that is.
5.9 litre engine that is. That's your cubic capacity of that engine.
Okay.
114 horsepower.
Okay. So the function of the engine is then when we have, there is four probably, how would I put it, strokes we'll say on the engine. We have we have an induction which actually takes in the air. We have compression which actually atomizes when the diesel goes into it, the compression on the cylinder, the molecules of the air get up to such a temperature that when we put in diesel, we'll say, which is put through our injector, which is atomized, it actually creates an explosion. So that's what they call the power end of it. And then we have exhaust, is when the piston goes down, comes back up, it exhausts all the gas. So we have induction, compression, power and exhaust. That's the 4 strokes we have on the engine. Now Mick, they do fire in at different cylinders at different times, isn't that it?
Yeah, all engines, petrol or diesel, have a firing order. This one here is 153624, I think,
Yeah.
am I right?
Yeah, we can actually, it's actually here on the manifold as well. So if you look in the manifold, it will give you a 153624. So number 1 cylinder is always
Crankshaft fully in generally.
crankshaft fully in general, right? So we have 1, 5, 3, 6, 2, 4. So that's the fired and sequence of a 6-cylinder engine, in this case, in this engine here. So if we want to actually explain it a little bit more closely here on the model, now this is a 4-cylinder engine. This is Caleb's model here that he built when he was 10. Am I right in saying that? Okay, so he brought it up to, now it's actually very simple but very effective. So here it's just powered by 2 little batteries here. So if we hit the button here, so in this case we'll see number 1 firing. You see number 3, number 4 and number 2, the bulb is kind of gone in it, but it does fire. So we'll do that again. So we'll see what happens here. We can see our pistons coming up and down. Comes up on induction, the power and exhaust. Induction, compression, power and exhaust. You can see them firing in different lines. Number 1, number 4, number 1, number 3, number 4 and number 2. Number 1 and number 4 and so on. So as that engine is doing its thing here, all the power is coming through your crankshaft. So your crankshaft is on the engine here, and that's where all your drive is taken. Your drives are taken from the crankshaft. That in turn drives back in onto the diff and drives the wheel, and the drive also goes forward. The drive functions like you have a drive shaft here that goes onto your hydraulic pump. It also drives your starter, your water pump, your air conditioner. So there's more drives on the front of the engine as well as the back. But that is the function of the engine. Again, the engine was, I don't know, 18. When was it invented? Anyone know? And I think Mr. Diesel was the man that did invent it. It's not his name. The German man that invented it. Could have been invented back in 1830s or wherever it was. So, I mean, it's still in today's still the same on the new ones. And it was still the same on the 6820s. It's still the same on the all tractors. It's no different. The firing sequence will be the same, and the bore size might. So when you hear about how many litre it is, that's how you calculate the Lehorn. This one is 5.7. On the John Deere 8410 or 7810 is an 8.1 litre engine. So that's what gives it. Probably the more litres, the more power basically. Yeah. So that's the rundown for today, lads. We'll keep you updated in part 8 of where we're going to go. This should be back together, and we should have another few things to talk about. But remember to go back, have a look at the videos, go through each video as it is from the start. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It won't cost you anything. We will talk to you the next thing. So from all the crew here at Finnegan's Farm, we're out, over and out.